for us to discuss and direct. The hot spot, my name is Webb. Well, Manchester United share price has gone down today. Guys, for the first time in a while, it has gone down today. As we speak now, it is at 23.71 US dollars. That is going down 4.43%. Now, that's a new development concerning this Man United club. Of course, that means one thing, that the takeover and the situation concerning the selling and buying of the club is beginning to impact on its, of course, stock price. We'll be talking about that. There are more developments concerning this long-awaited announcement of a takeover, because the date is almost about to be named, at least a month for now, for at which a full takeover will be obtained has been known now as we do speak. We're also going to talk about a bid that has been rejected, a bid tabled for Rasmus, Højlund, and try to understand what exactly is this bid. And now, as we speak, the battle is on for who is going to be the first choice replacement for David De Gea, because as it is, I think it is almost done. David De Gea left out of the Manchester United return list, meaning David De Gea is wanted out of the club. Who exactly is the front runner to replace him? Subscribe to the hotspot, share this link to your colleagues. Let's just enjoy this together, because there is a lot of hot news to talk about Manchester United. Of course, as we do continue to wait for the long-awaited announcement. Now, the latest coming through concerning the takeover is, I'm sure, is what you all want to know. I do believe, guys, now, by this time, you know, and I told you about this yesterday, that the Glazers were trapped in meetings discussing exclusivity with Sheikh Jassim. Of course, that's where we're still at, because exclusivity has been what Sheikh Jassim has been pushing for after the patience his team has exhibited for a long time. They do want exclusivity in terms of negotiations. Now, the talk is still going on. Of course, several people came out to try and, you know, rebuff this, but like I say, I don't come here to just tell you things that do not come from credible sources, but as it is now, as reported by Reuters, the exclusivity conversation is exactly what is happening. So it is going on again between the Rain Group. They are discussing exclusively with the Rain Group to try and see that the club is sold to them. Now, according to the latest reports coming through, we could be getting a clear confirmation, and of course a clear exit of the Glazers from Manchester United should most likely be happening in August. Why? Because takeovers are not events. They are not events that happen overnight, like you go to a shop and buy a biscuit, pay your cash and go with your biscuit and it's done. No, you don't own a club, the biggest football club in the world, for over a decade, and you sell it, and that is done overnight. It's always going to be a process. Now, according to what we are gathering and what is coming out, is that the takeover process is going to be finalized and completed around August. So whoever takes the club, and most likely it's going to be Sheikh Jassim, as it was revealed yesterday. If you were here for our live, if you didn't, you can watch the video from yesterday. It is clear that the takeover process is going to be taking a bit longer, as you'd expect, than a day or just a week. So whereas now we know who is taking over Man United, the process is going on behind the scenes. Now there is a proper process that has got to be followed. There are procedures certainly for you to take over full ownership of the club. So that's just one of the few things that have just had updates about the takeover. Of course, today the share price of Manchester United has gone down a bit again as I speak now. Like I was saying earlier, it's down 4.39%. Today it's at 23.72. Yesterday it was up to about 10%, but today it has gone down. That shows you now it has changed to 4.64%. So that shows you that in terms of updates, developments surrounding the buying of the club, there's not so much going on or happening. So that's why the share price is going down a bit, but it's still within the high end. So certainly shows you that something is going on. But the final takeover should be done in months. It could be finally done and sealed around August, but the announcement of who will be taking over will be made later on within this week. That's what's coming through, and it is said now, almost confirmed like we did yesterday, as Reuters did report that exclusivity is being discussed. Now, let's talk transfers for a bit because we'll get back, keep getting updates, and of course, talking more about the takeover. But the transfer window, for me, I feel, is one area we've got to focus on. Remember, United is in a hot race to sign players. It seems, as it is now, it seems Manchester United is pulling out of the race to sign Mason Mount. Would I be mad? Not because we could be pulling out of Mount. Why? By the way, the reason is Chelsea, I think, are willing to take the risk of losing Mason Mount on a free, because they don't seem to be interested in whatever Manchester United is contemplating tabling. It seems like I told you yesterday what happened with Man United and Harry Kane. Eric Ten Hag does not want to waste time on players pulling strings that are not coming. He's not going to try to waste time because that time is not there. United has got a lot to deal with. So if they are interested in a player and the club is frustrating the process, they will move on. That's why United has got so many options of players in different positions. So as it is now, Mason Mount's bid of interest could follow what happened with Harry Kane. United could pull out because Chelsea don't seem to be so excited about what United is valuing the player at, because we did table a £40 million bid, rejected on arrival. Now United has been planning to go back with at most 50, but because of course they know the clubs are conversing, it seems Chelsea still feel even that is so little. And if that is the case, like you and I would believe, I think would agree, anything more than £50 million for Mason Mount would be on the higher side, unless you're adding a clause of add-ons if we win the Champions League or a treble or a double. But it seems United might pull out of Mason Mount. And to be honest, guys, for me, Mason Mount, good as a player he is, certainly I would be happy if we signed him, because it seems Eric Ten Hag, the manager, wants him at the club. But do I think Mason Mount is a crucial player right now with the issues we are having? Do I feel he would be a first choice signing for Manchester United? I don't think so. I highly doubt. I think I would rather actually start now thinking of spending money on players in key areas that we want to solve: goalkeeping, centre back, most importantly a striker, and a holding midfielder. For me, those are areas. If Chelsea are not willing to take the money now, we can wait to go for Mason Mount and get him on a free. Good enough is he agreed with United that he would want to join United. So for me, I don't see a reason why we would frown over Mason Mount. So whether we take back an improved bid, we could if we want to. If it's rebuffed, I would be okay with it. I don't think he should be our first player. In any case, I never thought in any case he should be one of the first players we are moving for. I was just happy that United, on the opening door of the window, tabled something. It shows you that maybe now we are beginning to make moves and try to sign players. Not exactly the right player for me. But the latest coming through, United released the list earlier today of the players, the retained list of players for Manchester United, and those who are released. And the biggest, should I say, not a shock, of course, for me. Maybe for some it could have been a shock. The biggest one was the fact that this man, David De Gea, was not on the retained list of Man United. And it is said, of course, they went on to quickly to try and quell, speculations and rumors. They went on to quickly say that they are in talks. Talks are going on, and United are hoping to keep the player. I don't think for a player who has been around your number one for over a decade, you reach a point of releasing your retained list. His contract is running out at the end of the month, and you not put him on the list, and you're saying we are still in talks with him. I think logically it just shows you they just don't want the player. They have failed to agree, and David De Gea will be leaving sooner rather than later. And that's why right there on your screen I'm posing a question for you, and this for me will be our topic of conversation in terms of debating mostly today: Onana or Diogo Costa, who should be coming in as a first priority. Now United is believed to be looking at probably signing 2 goalkeepers. Maybe it might not happen in this window, signing both at once, but one of those should be signed as a first choice goalkeeper. Of course, Andre Onana from Inter Milan came in late as a late target for United, but Diogo Costa has always been the one many have been interested in. Question is, in your view, who of the two should be the first priority to come in between the sticks for United as a number one to replace David De Gea, who is most likely not going to be staying at the club. He's not going to be getting a contract extension. He's not going to be finalizing anything with Manchester United. That's the fact. If it was ever going to happen, it would have been done long time ago. So I think for now, the conversation in terms of De Gea should be looking at the future and who is going to be replacing him. And that's, for me, I love the pace and clarity with which Erik ten Hag is working, because we want to have a proper preseason. You don't want to dilly-dally and dwell on players who are not deciding. You know what you want, table it. If you don't take it, take it or leave it. We are the biggest club in the world. You should take our offer. If you're a player down on a downward spiral like David De Gea, no disrespect to him, we would want to keep him as a number 2 probably, but he has got to take the deal. If not, let him go play in Saudi Arabia, with all due respect. So David De Gea is not on the list of players who are retained, and of course one of the obvious release players we know, of course, there is Tuenzebe, who has left, but most importantly is Phil Jones, who many of you, I think, have followed over the years since he joined from Blackburn Rovers in 2009. Phil Jones has been one player who has scored a couple of own goals, and of course many would hate him for that, but I feel like Jones has represented the badge fully, and he does deserve, you know, a decency. He has been unlucky to be disturbed by injuries, but he has been an industrious player who came through many times as a defender, but also played central defense, right back. He played in the center of the midfield as a utility player. You feel Phil Jones will live as not exactly as a legend of the club, but as a respected player and representative of United. So for me, nothing against Phil Jones. We just wish him the best as he does go on and try to salvage his career. He's 31. You don't think there is so many teams that will be jostling for his signature. He has not played for the longest time at United. Many could have forgotten about his existence there. But Phil Jones, I think, is one honourable mention who should have as he does depart Manchester United. Now, again, moving on and talking, of course, for the Shab Suleiman saying, I won't be surprised if United end up with Henderson next season between the goalpost. Dean Henderson, you wouldn't be, well, of course, depending on the situation and what goes on. Remember, United now, as it looks, we've got to sell players. What we know, by the way, when it comes to transfers, because what Shab Suleiman is saying, I think could be a scenario that we would be pushed into if we do not have money to spend on players, because the obvious thing is, if we had money to spend on new players, one area we would start with is goalkeeping area. The goalkeeping department is one department. So in this scenario that would see us start with Dean Henderson in between the sticks is one where we don't have money to spend at all. But I think even if, and this is not going to happen, it's very unlikely, but even if it did happen and there was no sale and the Glazers stayed somehow, I think we would have at least 120 million pounds to spend. But I actually think we are going to have over 200 million pounds to spend in this summer. I do think so. Question is, who are we going to spend it on? But in the unlikely event that that doesn't happen, that we don't have the 200 million plus, there is no takeover, in the unlikely event, guys, quote me right, and I'm not trying to discourage anyone here, because I know Sheikh Jassim has already taken over United, but in that unlikely event, last minute change of things and stuff, if that happened, I think we would still have 120 million to spend at least. We would sell some players. I believe even on the return list there are players who are going to be sold by the club. Now, on that, from that money, I believe two key areas that Erik ten Hag would be hoping and fighting to solve would be the goalkeeping department and the striking department. So for me, I don't see that happening. Shab Suleiman, you wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I would be shocked, but I think we will sign a goalkeeper. Is it Diogo Costa? Is it Onana? I would choose Diogo Costa any day, any time. Onana is good, but I think Diogo Costa is for the future. He's a generational goalkeeper. He's one who would be there for us for a longer time in any day, and I've been consistent with this. I think there would be no debates about that for me. Who should be our first priority of a goalkeeper? The only question then would be the cost, because if we don't have so much money to spend, if let's say we have 120 million pounds to spend, and that would be on the low side, I think that's the least we would have to spend in this summer. That's peanuts, because like I said, that's 120 million pounds can only get you Victor Osimhen, who, by the way, is now increasingly coming back on the radar for United. he's coming back in the conversation, because like I told you, with Juventus, rather with Napoli getting a new coach, there is hope that now we can make a move and try to sign him. But 120 million pounds, if that's all we had to spend in the summer, I think if we wanted to sign a world-class striker, which is our most, I think, problematic department, I do believe we would blow it up in signing only that striker, a world-class striker, if that's what you wanted. But if we had 120 million pounds, certainly we wouldn't go for a world-class striker, because you can't blow all the money on one department. I think then we would go for only Rasmus Højlund, who is a finisher, and try to again work around with Mason Greenwood, who, by the way, is in the squad, is in the list of players who are retained, and maybe try to boost him around, try to boost Marcus Rashford, who is now a good forward for us, one of the guys we've been relying on, top scorer for Man United last season, player of the season. So I think it would be a difficult scenario, but again, it would be a good headache for the coach to try and manage with little resources. Geoffrey Okello says, I love to see Greenwood back to give competition for the right flank, and Ahmad, then Sancho is out, is okay. Well, Sancho, I think, is one of the players who will get some cash for. I think we can get a decent, cool 45, at least 45, 50 million pounds for him. I do believe. Of course, United is pricing him at 60. I don't think we can get it as it is in his current state as a player. He's young, yes, his future could be bright, but in his current form and state, I don't think we can get 60 for him, but that's the asking price. So we can go down to and to settle for a cool 50, or I mean a cool 50 or 45 million. I think that would be okay. I think he could be our most pricey player in terms of the current squad we have and players we could be willing to let go of. I think Jadon Sancho is our best bargain to get, you know, a decent figure. All the rest would go for Anthony Martial, could go for of 20. If you're lucky, you can get someone who can give you a 30 million for him. Talk of players like Fred, again, maybe 30. You can talk of players like Scott McTominay. I think you can get 30 for him. So I think the best in terms of players we can afford to lose, the most expensive one could be Jadon Sancho, but I also still don't see him. I don't see us getting anything beyond 50 million pounds for him. I don't see that happening. So yeah, but I'm sure we can sell players who can raise us about 100 million or even 120, because if you think about it, if you can sell Sancho at, let's say, even let's go low and say 40, and you say you can sell Anthony Martial at about 25, that's 65 million. You can sell Maguire at about, okay, let's put Maguire out of the picture because he doesn't seem to want to go. It seems we might have to pay him to actually force him out. Let's cancel him out, even if we don't. You can see, if you say you can sell, say, Fred, well, if you don't have new money coming, so much money, you don't want to sell Fred, you can stick around. Scott McTominay first. I think we can get a cool 25 for McTominay as well. So that's, I thought of now, what, 90 million. Then I believe you can sell, who else? Who else can we get a cool 10-15 million pounds for? I think you can sell players like, Bailey, maybe 10. So I think there are a few players we can put together and sell and get a decent 100 million. And maybe we can now start trying to sort of our kid. But now I'm talking now as the poor Man United, without the Sheikh Jassim money, and that would be an unlikely event because, like I said, for those of you who are just joining here, Sheikh Jassim seems to have already taken over United, but the processes are now. That's why we saw the letters that leaked yesterday that I showed you here, showing his company officially being, approved in the UK. It's now an official company in the UK. Things are happening so fast now. That's the paperwork and the bureaucracy that they have got to verify and stuff for a full, complete takeover to be done. And that is said it can only completely be done in August. August is not so far. Now, I'm sure as a United supporter, you would be sad to hear that the Glazers could have to stick around till August. I think it's not exactly them sticking around. They will sell now. They have probably sold now. But the process of taking over process is a process, not an event. It can only get done in a couple of months. So it can even go beyond August. It's okay. But at least we would know that the club has got new owners officially and the processes are going on to hand over fully. Because, I mean, the guys have been around and they have, sunk this ship so deep. that to get it back up, you need them around for a bit to try and do certain things and get clarity on certain things and stuff. Certainly, the way they have been pushing and extorting money out of the club, they have certainly been doing things certain way. And Sheikh Jassim and his team would need time to try and understand and try and undo those things. So it wouldn't be a one-day event. You wouldn't expect that. I don't think so. It's not going to a supermarket and buying, a biscuit. It's a process. You're buying the biggest football club in the world from guys who have owned it for decades. So it's a process. So guys, we need to be patient with the process, but trust it. We need to trust the process. If there is one person who does trust it, I think it is me. This gentleman still spoke about Greenwood. Yes, I love to see Greenwood there. I actually think Greenwood, and it's good that United is beginning to give us some bit of clarity. Of course, they are still waiting to see an official statement from, let's say, the Glazers and stuff. But guys, you don't always have to wait for official statements to see what is happening. The fact that Greenwood was included in the retained list of players, his contract runs out in 2025. He's 21. The fact that he was included in the list of retained players by United, it shows you that they have probably decided he's staying. The coach wants him, that's clear. Of course, the Glazers have been trying to play smart and all, to play cop and Captain Fantastic and stuff, trying to do more investigations and all because of course of their money intentions. But I mean, right now I think they will have more pressures than worrying about Greenwood and whether he stays or not. So for me, I think the coach has made his decision clear, and that is why he's still on the retained list. So the Glazers and all, well, their opinion might not exactly count or matter going forward, because they're anyway not going to be staying around so long. So their worries are the £6 billion they're hoping to milk from Sheikh Jassim, and it seems they are trapped in exclusivity negotiations to get the £6 million they do value their club at, and they will live in peace in a few months when the processes continue. So for me, I think Greenwood is staying. I think it's done, and we all love it. He's a brilliant footballer. He's young. He's promising. His mental health might be, going through a lot. But I think also this dragging and stuff helps him a bit, for people to calm down from what he did and stuff and move on. And maybe when he comes back, people will judge him more for his football, not for his, behavior, personal, life and stuff. So for me, I think it's a clear thing. Mason Greenwood is staying, and that I think solves half of our problem in terms of going forward. I think it solves a key area. It shows you that maybe now now you've got two guys in Marcus Rashford and Mason Greenwood, who are again for the future. They are young. They will be around, and you just need now to bring someone who can match with them, to try and complete the forward, solve the forward equation. So for me, I think it's a brilliantly good thing, Geoffrey Okello, and yeah, I do love to see that happen. Now, of course, there is more. I spoke about Rasmus Højlund. Now, the news that came through from Italy suggested, and a credible newspaper did write in Italy and suggested that a bid has been rejected, that Atalanta rejected a 35 million euros bid for Rasmus Højlund. Now, they did not mention from who, but as it has been clearly said, I think for a long time, Manchester United is the one club that has been consistently and interested in Højlund for quite some time. I think from as way back as January. So certainly that bid could have been from United, and remember, we've already made bids before, so there's no reason for us to doubt that United made a bid for Rasmus Højlund, because he's been a consistent target for us. So it could have been that it's United's bid, because remember, the player is valued at about 50 million euros. So United makes an initial 35, because, well, even 50 million euros, even for me, could be a little on the higher side. But of course, in these days, in terms of price of players and stuff, well, you wouldn't be so shocked for such a young player who is not exactly proven to be priced at 50 million euros. But I believe, and I was trying and dig around and try to understand who could have made this bid, because the source did not exactly reveal which club tabled the bid. But I think it's easy to know and think it's United. But whether it's United or not, it shows you that, I mean, this player is also in conversations. But what we know is that United had talks with the player, and I think it's the question. I don't think Højlund will be that that target who will be hijacked by Bayern Munich, a late arrival in Bayern Munich, like it has been for Kim Min-jae, who apparently has been excited by the Bayern offer. Whatever they told him, I think for me, if Kim Min-jae chose Bayern over Manchester United, it would show me that maybe it's good riddance, because any player, any young footballer who in their right mind would choose Bayern Munich right now over Manchester United, I think it would be shocking. I think it would be shocking. I think it would speak to a lack of ambition. Of course, it said Bayern are close into agreeing personal terms with him. We've said a lot. We've said this with United. I think he agreed personal terms with United before this, in a long time ago. So, well, it wouldn't be really a new situation for him. But it seems to be advanced with Bayern, and well, this is the frustration, guys. I think, and again, whenever you see such things happening, you go back to the Glazers and you want to blame it all on the Glazers. Like, what exactly? Where do they want to see? How deep do they want to see this Manchester United ship sink? Because even in departure, the Glazers are departing on a dirty slate, that they are willing to drain the last bit of hope and happiness and joy out of the club, even when they are leaving. Because the reason why we would miss out on signings players that the manager has been interested in for a long time, the first priority players, is because of the dilly-dallying that is going on with the Glazers and the ownership. That's the reason, because even these players, and the only logical reason that I think Kim Min-jae would choose Bayern over United is because of the news, the reports, these things is probably, these links, things we do online. I mean, players are on their phones, they are watching things. It's probably getting to his head and thinking, when are these guys going to come? What am I going into? So if another good big club comes for me, and I'm still waiting and hoping, on words, personal terms agreed with Manchester United, if I'm just relying on that, then when will it end? It doesn't seem to be progressing. You give it a benefit of a doubt and give it some bit of time, but there's no clear progress. It's frustrating. See, if you fans are frustrated like that, think about the players like Kim Min-jae, who were contacted by the club, given promised the club that they will come back for them. They agreed on personal terms, but there are no offers being made because there is no clarity. You don't see a proper, direction. You feel you wouldn't blame him so much, of course, in that sense, because again, it's the Glazers who are drying. So it seems like they are willing to disorganize to leave this club as disorganized as it can be, so that the next owners have got to now to go back to square one, which is okay. For me right now, I'm at a point where I'm feeling like, it's okay. Whatever mess, I think there is no more mess. The worst thing now that they can do, the worst thing that the Glazers would do now is not selling. But it would not be just the worst for the club. It would be the worst for them as well, because I think it would be hell for them if they stayed. So I think at this point we just want to say, let them just go. But we know that their prolonged indecision is costing the club again. But again, like it has always been, they have never really cared about the football and the fans and the passion of the fans and how the fans feel about the performances of the team. You don't expect them to care about that when they are leaving. So that's why they will drag on. They could go on until the transfer window is closed in September, and they wouldn't care so long as it is going to buy them time to squeeze an extra pound out of Sheikh Jassim. So for me, well, we might lose Kim Min-jae, but again it speaks to. But also, even if the Glazers, have all their drama going on, and they are largely to blame for whatever players would miss out on signing, I think if we can have the 120 million pounds, which I said would depend, of course, on players we sell, and of course that is not entirely dependent on us, because again, then you'll have to rely on the team buying and how much they are willing, and then they allow the process of negotiating to go on and So, but again, I'm sure we can afford, because Kim Min-jae is one of the top centre backs in the world, and it's a key department for United. If we have some bit of money, if instead of going to table a bid, a 40 million or 50 million pounds bid for Mason Mount, you would rather say, okay, we have that. If we have that 50 million pounds or 40 million, Kim Min-jae refused to extend his contract at Napoli. His buyout clause is 45 million. let's go for him at 45. Let's go for him. Let's bid for him. Forget about Mason Mount. He can wait for next summer or in January. Let's go for Kim Min-jae. So, of course, you would largely blame the Glazers, but I would also want to question the priorities of Man United. If you had the first movers advantage, got the player excited and cornered, you don't let Bayern come and scope them for any reason if you can afford to go for to get them. So again, I would question the priorities. But the situation with Kim Min-jae and Bayern has now resurrected talks of Axel Disasi, who apparently, according to the latest sports coming through, is now Manchester United looking at him now because there's always been the backup option. That's the French AS Monaco defender, plays both centre back and right back, and it seems if Bayern go through, because they seem to be now taking the lead to sign Kim Min-jae. It is believed that Axel Disasi is the next in line in terms of the pecking order for United and their options. So Disasi's interest could be resurrected, and we would go for Axel Disasi. I don't think he's a bad player. I told you he contributed 6 goals, 3 goals scored and 3 assists last season for Monaco, which is good for a defender. And he's physical, he's strong, he can play right back, centre back. So I think he wouldn't be the worst of additions, and I think he's almost rated at nearly the same price, a little less than Kim Min-jae. So United might now trigger a plan B, which is okay. It's always good to have a plan A and a plan B. So those are reports coming through because Kim Min-jae seems to be a target. United is also talking about a certain player called Jean-Claire Todibo, who is also a defender in the French league, who is also being looked at as an option in case we fail to push through a move for Kim Min-jae. So those are the 2 players who Manchester United are looking at. Jean-Claire Todibo plays for League One club Nice. That's the club owned by the man you don't want, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And the man, again, I'm probably won't even go further with that because people will start now thinking that the fact that United would be interested in a player who plays for Sir Jim Ratcliffe's club, that maybe the ownership is tending toward him. So let me not even try to dwell. But that is another player who has been mentioned. Good evening, bro. What about Sheikh Jassim buying Man United? It's not done. Senoga Ramzan, I think Senoga is just joining us. Yes, it is not officially done, but what we are getting now is that the whole process could be done like in August or in a few months from now. But the agreements, the most important thing is the two parties agreeing that the agreements could have been agreed on, but paperwork is now being done. The processes that handover, if you could call it that. So the processes could be done in August. Remember, Sheikh Jassim is Qatari, so obviously the process of a Qatari man coming on and starting a company in the UK and then going through the processes, to be trusted and all, and money sources and books of accounts. So those processes take time. So probably those are the processes that would drag this on until August or after August. So it could be completely done in a few months. So that is when you probably would expect to hear an official final announcement saying the Glazers are out. But in terms of agreeing, I think it is, for me, I still strongly believe it was already done, because now, as Reuters reported, as we spoke about it here yesterday, they have been trapped in exclusive negotiations. The Rain Group trapped in exclusive negotiations with Sheikh Jassim's group. It seems Ineos has been locked out at this stage. So we are in stages where now they're just finalizing stuff. So I think that's the status of the whole takeover, and it is still leaning towards Sheikh Jassim. That's what we are gathering so far. So that's it. But the latest, again, does concern the goalkeeping department, where Andre Onana is emerging as another contender for that goalkeeping position, of course together with Diogo Costa, who has been around for a bit, both priced at about the same figures. I think because Onana has got a longer contract left with Inter Milan, also being that he's playing for Inter Milan and there is interest from Chelsea, you feel it would be harder for Inter Milan to lower their asking price than it would be for FC Porto, who have got financial issues. So I still think that would be the advantage the team Diogo Costa would have, because I'm team Diogo Costa if I'm to choose between the two. But again, if Onana came in, it wouldn't be the worst of options, because for me, like I've already said, I don't think United have ever got it wrong with the goalkeeper. I think not in our time. That's my honest opinion. So yeah, Senoga, that's a bit of what's happening so far. So Man United could be the team that bid for place, and we would find out soon, that place that bid for Rasmus Højlund. Remember, the two parties agreed personal terms. It is also said that Højlund has been monitored for a long time by Manchester United, and it seems that they are still monitoring him, that they actually send their scouts to monitor him one more time. This is an interesting report that came through, that he was monitored. He's going to be monitored even today. There is a team monitoring him now as they play in their game against Northern Ireland in their UEFA Euro qualifiers. There's a game going on right now, and well, let me even look at the lineups here for you. It says that they are Man United guys there to monitor him and see. He's the one leading the line for Denmark as we speak. It's a goalless draw. He has not scored, of course, yet, but he's in that game and he's the one leading the line for Denmark in a 4-2-3-1 formation. So that's the game happening now, and it's actually also said that Christian Eriksen could have had a hand in terms of recommending him, because of course he's national teammate. So he's leading the line as we speak right now in a goalless draw against Northern Ireland in the UEFA Euro qualifiers. That is happening in Denmark. So it is said that United sent scouts to monitor him one more time before they make another approach to try and find him and sign him. That's of course what we are getting concerning Rasmus Højlund. But that's the case. Now, just to tell you about the situation at Man United in terms of the retained list. So this is to read to you a statement from Manchester United. In terms of the goalkeeping department, discussions remain open with David De Gea of a potential new contract with Tom Heaton and Nathan Bishop. While Tom Heaton and Nathan Bishop have had extensions triggered on their deals, well, you wonder, Tom Heaton, whatever he is, maybe he's one of the... Anyway. Extensions were also processed for defenders Rhys Bennett and Ethan Laird, while under 21s Tom Henderson. Now these are just some of the younger players from the academy. Centre back Phil Jones is leaving after 12 years and 229 appearances for United. Fellow defender Axel Tuanzebe is departing after 37 first-team appearances, having captained the Reds at every level since joining the academy as an 8-year-old. So Axel is leaving as well. So those are the players who are not retained. Now the retained list includes so many players, and among them the younger ones is Mason Greenwood, and you should be probably welcoming that with open arms. And of course Anthony Elanga, many of you were thinking he would be let go of, but maybe he's one of the other players United could cash in on. They could sell him maybe in the future. So he's also on the retained list of Manchester United. And of course so many other senior players in the team. Those are Eric Bailly is there, he's retained. I think he can be sold as well. Casemiro, who has got no backup. I think United now, I think is the time. And as United is growing increasingly frustrated by Chelsea for Mason Mount, in their pursuit of Mason Mount, I actually think United should be now thinking seriously of signing a holding midfielder. All teams are trying to sort that department. There is talk of Thomas Partey being available for sale, that Arsenal could be willing to listen to offers for Thomas Partey as they try to advance in their pursuit of a holding midfielder. And of course that's Declan Rice, but also Moses Caicedo that they have been linked to. Of course, you think if Declan Rice joined Arsenal, he would play a more advanced role. I don't see him playing a holding midfield position largely, whereas he did play that for the most part at West Ham, but situations are different. West Ham was for the most part fighting relegation. If you're fighting relegation, you want to have your best players playing closer to your goal and defending. You're defending most of the time, and Rice did that. I think he had the most tackles won for West Ham. That's why teams are jostling for his signature from Germany to UK and all over. But I think if he joined Arsenal, which I think would happen, I do think he would play a more advanced role. So Arsenal would still be interested in signing Moses Caicedo, though Chelsea now seem to be taking a cruising lead in terms of signing Caicedo, who was linked to United as well. So perhaps Ten Hag also sees that he needs a holding midfielder. I'm just surprised by his priorities. That how do you table a bid for Mason Mount, who is not a holding midfielder, when you only have Casemiro as the dependable holding midfielder you have? Well, again, priorities. Interesting there. But Casemiro needs a backup. I mean, the guy is 31. We saw how we struggled without him. But also, when games get too intense, I think he's overworked. He's 31, guys. In football, that's 50. I mean, 31 in football is old. And it's more so if you're an outfield player, unless if you're a goalkeeper. Diogo Dalot, of course, had a contract extension. Christian Eriksen is there. Bruno Fernandes, Fred, Tom Heaton, Tom Huddleston, Dean Henderson. These are, of course, the guys we have. Victor Lindelof, Harry Maguire, Anthony Martial, Lisandro Martinez, Scott McTominay, Marcus Rashford. I think McTominay can be sold as well. I spoke about Anthony Martial. Harry Maguire should be leaving, whether he's sold or given out, loaned out, whatever it is. Maguire should be out of United. Marcus Rashford, Luke Shaw, Alex Telles, Donny van de Beek. This one can also be sold. Rafael Varane and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That is the retained list of players for Manchester United, according to what just came out today. So that is the list. I'm seeing more comments coming through here. Senoga saying, what about Kim Min-jae? So like I said, Kim Min-jae's situation is looking, I think the ball is shifting because of the Glazers, the increased lack of indecision, and lack of clarity on the ownership. I think whereas Man United were fast movers and agreed on personal terms with Kim Min-jae, it seems he has been growing increasingly impatient. He wants out. He wished his colleague goodbyes and stuff. So I think United have been taking too long to come and engage Napoli, and he got frustrated. And when Bayern came calling, I think he listened and they excited him. He's a young player. So I think right now as we speak, the reports suggest that, and I do believe the reports, that Bayern are taking a cruising lead in the pursuit of signing Kim Min-jae. So that's why United are now triggering, their second options. That is Axel Disasi, and there is talk of Todibo. That is still who plies his trade in Nice. But that's where we are. So United, well, again, Kim Min-jae's situation is beginning to shift way far away from our hands. I think if it's a game now, it's we are in the 80th minute, and it's Bayern leading 3-2. Or 2-1 in the 80th minute in terms of trying to sign Kim Min-jae. So we had a cruising, no, it's actually 3-2. We first led 2-0. We are leading, an easy win. We hit the 80th minute. We are now in the 85th minute. The game has shifted, and Bayern is leading 3-2. That's, I think, the situation when it comes to Kim Min-jae, to put it in footballing terms. Shab Suleiman saying the Glazers are the real mess. Yes, I agree, and might be difficult to get rid of. Well, as you'd expect, they have been smart, they have been cunning all throughout their start at the club. But I think right now this is beyond, there is no turning back. They are going. It's a question of when, not if they will go. They are playing a ball game between Qatar and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. They want to get maximum out of them. Indeed, it's been about money, like we've been saying here consistently. It has always been about money. They are playing the long game, and it's a negotiation tactic. Those who handle negotiations, it's a negotiation tactic. You play the long game and try to hold out for the best, bidder. When it comes to bidding, you play the long game. You try and go on and try. Some people are coming up with even sort of theories saying that maybe Sir Jim Ratcliffe is, in bed with the Glazers, and they are using him to try and milk, as much as they can from Sheikh Jassim. I think that's not true though. Siyama Kasuja saying United is now more of a political party than a football club. Siyama Kasuja, that is interesting. United is more of a political party than a football club. How painful that would be. Football should be the most apolitical thing in the world. So for United to be now rated by Siyama Kasuja as being more political, but I think because of its value, I think anywhere there is a lot of money. Any club, United has close to 600 million supporters worldwide. So probably it is inevitable that United would become more of a political entity because of its value. And again, we are seeing that the politics we are seeing now is because of money, certainly for the Glazers, like it has always been. So, well, interesting stuff. But guys, do go on, of course, continue subscribing. I do see us, of course, there continuing to grow our community of course, guys who do love the beautiful game of football, guys who do love the Premier League, guys who do love Manchester United, but of course, guys who love to enjoy sport and live life. I don't know what's life without football. Anyway, but yeah, guys, do continue sharing on this link as you do continue to subscribe, as we do get to talk more about Manchester United. You can drop your those questions. Siama Kasuja is saying, yep, exactly. Yeah, we can't agree more. I think I cannot agree more with what you're saying. We are becoming more of a political party. But on the flip side, when you look at the good side of it, is that this is increasing our value in terms of us staying. The longer we stay in the papers, the club is overshadowing. United is more. The takeover of United is, I think, is a more trending conversation in sport now than anything else, than even the transfers themselves, because I believe we are in a situation where Arsenal could sign Declan Rice, but still that story would not get the traction it would ordinarily get because of a rumor concerning the takeover. So it shows you that now the club is top of mind, and it's a good thing for the brand of the club. It's bad for the emotions of the fans, but it's a good thing in terms of branding. So yeah, let's look at the positive side. Again, like I said, we cannot change so much about the dilly-dallying from the Glazers. The greedy Glazers will still keep greedy and will live on a greedy slate. But we can try and look for the positives so that we keep going and pushing, and of course hoping that things get done and clear sooner rather than later. So for me, that's I think what I could say. But yeah, thank you Siama Kasuja, thank you Shab Suleiman, Senoga Ramanzan, Geoffrey Okello, Shab Suleiman. Of course, there's lots of people watching us from all walks of of life and all places in the world. We've got a lot of fans in the UK. I think the statements we showed here, or the leaked documents we showed here, were, I think, verified. They are right. They are correct documents. I told you we don't come here to just bring you any rumors we hear from everywhere. We put in time to verify the things we get and the sources. So United is still a hot conversation. The takeover is still brewing. The United share price now, as I speak right now, is at has dropped 4.64% today. 23.66 is the price of a share. That's a drop, showing there is not so much maybe as it has been before. But there is an interesting article here from The Athletic that has just come out about Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Manchester United bid Sir Jim Ratcliffe's ownership of Nice, the story and the struggles, by a journalist called Adam Crafton. An interesting one that perhaps, if you had the time, you'd want to read, giving a biting expose of Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the man who is trying to buy Manchester United. But this article seems to suggest that it would be going from bad to worse, or from worse. For those of you from Uganda, you know you get the phrase from worse to worse. That's what we call it in our jargon here. But the way he has handled Nice, people have big disquiets in the days leading up to OGC Nice's penultimate home game of the season in France's League One. Two of the club's prominent ultras groups announced a strike. The Populaire side and North side, both known for their vigorous and vocal support, announced they would not be attending the Allianz Riviera for a home match against Toulouse. Enough was enough. So, what I'm trying to say, what this article is revealing, is that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not doing so well. He's not so loved even at Nice, and maybe soon I'll be giving you, a story about him. There are quite many interesting anecdotes, as we do, of course, follow this takeover, talk and situation. But this man, Jim Ratcliffe, is not so popular, even at Nice, the club he owns. So why on earth would he think of taking the biggest football club in the world? So I think the talk of Ratcliffe should be I mean, should be rebuffed, you know, with contempt. That's the man. Of course, that's the image used in the article. But it's an interesting article giving a biting expose of the man who is failing terribly with Nice. This is a team that has won the French league before, but the richest man in the UK is struggling to make it a competitive force, and fans for a small club like that are fighting, but somehow he feels he can come on and take over Manchester United. Well, interesting. But yeah, thank you guys, of course, for your comments, and of course for being on. Well, that's, I think, pretty much like it for now, guys. I think we've got to take that rest. It's been a long week, hasn't it? It's been a long, interesting week, but trust me, the weekend is going to be bigger. I'm sure there will be more breaking news, more updates. The takeover might be announced sooner rather than later. That is why I do encourage you to turn on the notifications, because this weekend, tomorrow, I do believe we are going to be seeing some big breaking news tomorrow. I don't know, it's strange that you can predict breaking news, but I think this is me predicting breaking news tomorrow. So that's why I think you've got to turn off your notifications. In case of anything coming up, we'll be giving it to you as soon as it comes. That's just maybe to give you some transfer talk concerning other clubs. Well, Benson Mabali Daka is on, saying Ferdinand yesterday gave us the updated. That is the imminent. We are just waiting for Qatar. Exactly. There's no more confirmation you need for in terms of the ownership. Just wait for Qatar. When it happens, it will happen. But it's going to happen. It's happening. And Ferdinand has not come out to be defensive and apologetic about what he said and all. No. So there is a new report coming through. Okay, that Manchester United, this is coming through now. It's just coming through now, about 10 minutes ago, from the United stand. They are saying that Manchester United had a verbal approach rejected by Strasbourg for midfielder Habib Diarra, holding talks around a possible £11 million deal. Nothing written, just verbal. This is being reported by a transfer market I won't say wannabe, or transfer market person. I won't say expert exactly. He's called Luca Bendoni. He's talking about how, and this is the tweet from Bendoni, that Manchester United had a verbal approach rejected by Strasbourg for midfielder Habib Diarra, holding talks around a possible £11 million deal. Nothing written, just verbal. Olympique Marseille and Lens are also interested, as many clubs continue to monitor the player. Lens also called by Santi. And all this. This is a transfer speculation coming through concerning United and this player called Habib Diarra. Let's just try to just understand. Look at Habib Diarra. I won't say I've watched a lot of Strasbourg football, Strasbourg playing, so, but I'll get you details of this player Habib Diarra, because again now speculations can turn into facts. He's a midfielder, and he's a young boy. He's 19. He's a young boy, obviously, born in Senegal, but he's a youth international for France. He's not won a cup for the senior team, so I think he's more of a futuristic player. That's why he's worth about 11 million euros. So this is one of the players that Man United has been linked to, according to the latest coming through. Of course, we'll keep continuing monitoring this one, but we do want to give you all the updates as they come. And yeah, but later on, I think when the storm clears, when all is settled, we'll be here talking about how Manchester United has been poorly run for a long time, and it will be an interesting conversation, I promise. And maybe it's one that would want to have more so as we usher in new owners, because it's important. You can't know where you're going if you don't know where you came from. I think we've tried to expose how the Glazers ran the club down. They ruined the club, and there's a video here. If you haven't read it, there's one of my past videos. You can see it, how the Glazers ruined the club, more so focusing on growing the revenue, but not the football. And inadvertently, if the football is not growing, it's a football club. It's not a supermarket. So it's a football club. If the revenue is got to grow consistently, it's the football has got to grow. Certainly, if the football was growing, the revenue would even be more than it is now. I think that's the simple logic and common sense. So even if there is talk of the Glazers growing the revenue of the club, and certain people wanting to sell that narrative, I mean, I think it's nonsense. I think if the football was growing, the revenue would certainly grow more, a lot more than it has grown now. So I mean, that's the simple logic. But yeah, we'll be sharing a bit about that, and how it was poorly run, and what the Glazers need not to do, rather what Sheikh Jassim needs not to do, and what he needs to do, as we do try to continue understanding the situation concerning this club. But yeah, guys, I can see we're still on, but I think we can probably get to retire now. I think we can't wait for more news as it comes. There is one that came through from Ben Jacobs. Manchester City now closing in on signing Mateo Kovacic. I think this we have known for quite some time. Yeah, Arsenal have had an opening bid turned down. Yes, Arsenal are making moves. Arsenal are making moves, and I think it's it's sad. Can be a sad bit if you're a United supporter seeing teams like Arsenal making moves and signing players or bidding for players, going serious on players. They have just made a bid for. They made a bid for Caicedo in January. They just made a bid for Declan Rice. It was rejected. They're planning to take back another over £100 million. Excuse me. Then they have made a bid for Kai Havertz. They do know they needed a striker. I don't think Arsenal has always needed a striker. I don't think Gabriel Jesus is that striker who will win Arsenal the Premier League. I don't think it will happen. So if they have hope of even competing for the Premier League, they do need a striker. And they have handpicked Kai Havertz, who seems to be highly rated because he was linked to Real Madrid as well. I do not. Yes, he's good. He has got his moments. Probably with a good manager, you think he can do better, and maybe Mikel Arteta can be that manager. Is he world class? Perhaps not. But are there so many world class strikers now? Again, you can think about it. Perhaps not so many. So yeah, probably it's a case of taking a gamble. But see, if you can't gamble on a player who is being overpriced. So according to Ben Jacobs, of course, and this we know, not just Ben Jacobs, that Arsenal have had an opening bid turned down for Kai Havertz, as it was first reported by one Nath Gissing, saying that Arsenal will return and Havertz is very open to the move. Arsenal are optimistic Chelsea won't hold out for £75 million. Talks are quite positive despite the rejection. Now, £75 million for Kai Havertz is broad day robbery. I think that is broad day robbery. £75 million for Kai Havertz is robbery, and I think Chelsea has got to be warned. I think there should be rules that don't prohibit certain things, because this is wastage of time. It seems Chelsea don't want to sell, or they think they can overprice players and get back the money they wasted in signing very many expensive non-delivering players. Because if you say you want 70 million for Mason Mount, 1 year left on his contract, he has won nothing. I would say that's robbery. You turn down a bid of 40 million for Mason Mount with a year left on his contract. That's illegal. It should be illegal in football. And now you're pricing Kai Havertz, you're valuing Kai Havertz at £75 million. What's the logic? I think Chelsea are becoming, the daytime robbers of today in football, and they have got to be warned. Someone has got to go and warn them. I think it's illegal. It can't be happening. I mean, it's bad for football. These are the people who are making the transfer windows become crazy. That a team like West Ham now can think Declan Rice is worth £120 million. How on earth can Declan Rice be worth nearly the same money as Victor Osimhen or Harry Kane, or okay, maybe because he's younger than Kane, okay, but or Kylian Mbappe? I mean, it's insane. It's insane. But these are the things. So I think in the future we need to see rules that regulate how much, that control the value of these players, because it's just becoming crazy. It's just becoming crazy. Fabrizio Romano is reporting that Man City are working hard on Vardiol, a deal very advanced on the player side, but not yet the club side. Of course, that's another player that Man City has been linked to from RB Leipzig. Well, these are transfer conversations, and well, let me also try and give you an update on how the Den player wanted by United is performing in the ongoing game between Denmark and and Northern Ireland. Denmark is leading by a goal to nil, but unfortunately, it is not scored by Rasmus Højlund. The United target has been scored by a 1J Wind, and that's the goal scorer. It's 1-0, 57th minute, and yeah, Højlund is still on. Rasmus Højlund is still on playing. So, guys, that's it from me. Let's wait again as we do continue to monitor Man United. I do want to keep promising you that we will be here with all the breaking news concerning transfers, with all clubs also, of course, all the news concerning the takeover of Manchester United. My name is Webb from Uganda, Nairobi, Kigali, from Dodoma in Tanzania, from Durban, South Africa, Pretoria, from Leeds, from Manchester, London, Kingston, Freetown, from people in I saw some people in China, or which state, Guangzhou. I saw people, we've got over 1,000 people watching us from Accra. We've got over 6,000 people watching us from Abuja, from Lagos. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of the hotspot as we do continue with hot stories. Today has been a bit of a silent day, but it's a good thing for us to relax a bit and we wait for tomorrow, because I do believe there will be more breaking news tomorrow concerning this takeover situation, but also the transfers across all clubs in the world and in Europe, most importantly. And we will be here to bring it to you at the soonest when it does break. Smash that subscribe and the notification button in case you haven't, as we continue to talk the beautiful game of football here on the hotspot. My name is Webb. Good morning, good night, good evening, good afternoon. Peace, love, and harmony.